Hello, welcome to this week's live stream, live from in studio. And first thing you'll note is this time I'm by myself, Rick's not with me. More on that later. So, what have we got today? Well, the theme for today's live stream, I want to concentrate on the whole topic of social distancing, COVID-19, and how this affects us in the photography industry. Now, this is going to be this stream is going to be a little bit different to the previous ones I've done. I've not got a lot of things to feed in on it. It's going to be a much shorter one, and there are reasons for that, not just to do with COVID-19. So, if you're new to this, and it's the first time joining one of my my live streams, that's only the third one I've done, please just take a moment to subscribe, and if possible, click that little bell button so that you'll get notified of future live streams and future videos which are going up on my YouTube channel. And one thing to be aware of is these live streams, the way I've designed them is that they will remain on YouTube until the next one is published, or for a full week, whichever is longer. After that, I'll move them over into my academy, and then there'll be just a truncated version here on YouTube. So if you want to delve through the archives, not that we've got a huge archive yet, with only 2 of them, join my academy for that. But if you don't want to join, and there may be very, very good reasons for that, then you can always watch them all here live each week. And highlights for the others. Right, I'd like to encourage you to ask questions in the chat. I'll have a look at those later. Let's just see who's in there at the moment. Hi Terry, Gary, Rick is in there, and it's looking like you may be a long way behind me, because having gone over to have a look at that, it appears that as I'm talking about this, you're just still watching the title sequence. So not quite sure what the delay is on there, but if you are a long time behind, I don't know on that. Anyway, I'm going to carry on and hope that the technology is all working and is going to catch up with me as we go along. So yeah, ask your questions there in chat. I'll come to those later. There may be things you want to add as I'm talking through about COVID-19. And set my context over to here. Yep, if you're watching this on the replay, please use the comments section below to add a comment in there, to ask questions, and I can pick those up in future live streams as well. So don't feel that just because you're not watching it live you've missed out on the chance to ask questions, because I can pick them up from the comments field and try and deal with them in later live streams. So what have we got on the show this week? Well, I'll start with my usual news section. The vast majority of what I'm going to be talking about tonight is some thoughts on the COVID-19 crisis and where we are at with that. I'll then do a Q&A. The questions don't have to be purely about COVID. They can be about other photographic topics as well. And then I'll see what I can answer on those before wrapping up. So, what's in the news this week? Well, there's no real news from the photography world in general. I've got a little bit of news. Some of you may be aware that I was involved with another live stream earlier today, trying to live stream the service from the church I go to, St Cuthbert's, and I had some technology problems, to put it mildly. We did the dry run on it last night. everything worked perfectly. This morning, with minutes to go before we went live, the capture card stopped capturing the images from my camera. The monitor I was using to have the PowerPoints on that I was feeding in, that failed. So I ended up with a different aspect ratio monitor, which meant all my slides were the wrong size on the screen. And I did the whole broadcast from an iPhone. Now, that's not as crude as it might sound, because believe it or not, what you're watching now, the live video feed, is actually from my iPhone. So the technology is good. I have an app that fits into OBS, which allows me to do that. And I am very thankful for the fact that a few weeks ago, before all this kicked off, I decided to pay for the app for that. It's my backup camera, my emergency camera. The other bit of news is, as I said, I'm on my own this week, no Rick joining me. He wasn't planning to join me this week anyway, but I'm afraid he can't. He's having to self-isolate at the moment. So if you want to send your best wishes to Rick, he is watching the chat at the moment, and it's basically because of concerns over a family member that he needs to stay at home at present. So Rick, I miss having you here heckling me on this. It actually makes it an awful lot easier when you're alongside me. It's hard doing it alone, but we'll get through it. So yeah, look after yourself, Rick, and thank you for all the support that you've offered me over the time with trying to solve some of the technology problems that I've had today. So the other bit of news is I've got a giveaway going at the moment, which is for this. It's a 5-in-1 reflector, and it's been very kindly provided by a company called Essential Photo or Pixapro. They go by two names, and I've got 2 of these to give away. Now, I started it last week by saying put a comment in the comments field, and I'll do a pick from there. Unfortunately, I think I kind of messed up a little bit on how I announced that, because I didn't announce it at the right point in the live stream. It should be, as I'm doing now, early on. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep that one going for this week, and what I'm going to do is, for the first one, if you put a comment in either last week's, now you can do that live now, don't leave this stream, but if you've got another device, stick your comment in there, you'll be added into it. And if you put a comment in this one, the one you're watching, then I'll put you into the draw for it then. And then next week, I will definitely do the draw for the people who've commented in either of those 2 streams to see who gets it. Then the second one, I will do something similar next week, because on next week's broadcast, I'm going to concentrate on available light photography, and these sort of really tie in with it. So that's the way I'm going to do it. Now, just to tell you a little bit about this, it's quite a large device. I'm a big fan of reflectors and diffusers when working with available light, and even in the studio as well. I use them in the studio. I have one a similar shape and size to this, similar sort of price. Might even be a Pixapro one, I'm not sure. But big shout out to Pixapro for giving us these to give away, and my thanks to Rick who organised this with them, because he does some work with Pixapro. So comments in either last week's or this week's to be entered in the draw for it. Right, let's move on to this topic of COVID-19 and the situation that we find ourselves in. It's based, what I'm going to say is based on the blog that I wrote this week, and I published on my website last night, and it went out to my mailing list. So if you're on my mailing list, you've heard some of these points in that email, but I want to sort of expand on it, open it up to yourselves for comments and thoughts, and see how you're coping with all this as well. And this will be a bit more free-flowing than what I wrote on there. Now, I found the blog incredibly difficult to write, and this live stream is going to be no easier on it. And there's lots of reasons for that. COVID-19's come on us so quickly, and the entire world has changed because of it. And I don't think any of us knows where we stand, what we're doing, what on earth's going on. And it's very unsettling on that, to say the least. But I wanted to write something that will hopefully encourage you and not cause you to fear. And that's difficult to get that balance right. I don't want to come across all blasé about it, but I do want to encourage you and help you through this, and not to be yet another cause of fear and doom and gloom on there. The other reason it's difficult is I'm not an expert. There's very few things I would ever claim to be an expert in. I know my way around the camera, and that's about it, to be honest. And even that, there's people who know their way around far better than me. I certainly don't know the best way to keep safe from COVID-19. So all I can do is follow the government advice on there and try and add a few thoughts of my own into it. I'm also going to talk a little bit about how it's affected me and what I need to do to keep my business afloat. And I want to be honest about it. And because I'm going to be honest about it, there's a danger that this might come over as me using this to promote my business. That really isn't what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to be honest with you, trying to tell you where I'm at, with the hope it will help you, but also to make sure you're aware of the situation I find myself in, because I think you have a right to know. There's 900 people on my mailing list. There's over 200 people subscribing to me here on YouTube, and that's going to go up, I hope. And 200 people in my Facebook group. You have a right to know. You're following me, so don't misinterpret it. Right, just to tell you a little bit about how I've been feeling this week. I've really gone through the whole gamut of emotions with this. At times I've been quite fearful, not just for myself, a little bit for myself. I don't want to get the coronavirus, but fearful for my family and particularly for my aged mum. She's on her own and I'm the only point of contact for her. She doesn't have any other visitors than me, and I worry every time I go up there that if I've picked this up, am I going to give it to her? And then a few minutes later, my emotions might change again, and I'll feel energized and determined and think, right, I'm going to use this. I'm going to beat it. I'm not going to let this get me down. I'm going to keep going. I've been involved with live streaming services from our church to help with that, and that's given me a real boost. But the emotions change from moment to moment, and I've also been very moved by the kindness of others. Just when I've seen it reported, the way people are helping each other, and I was practically in tears after a phone call I received this week from my landlord, who phoned me up just to say that he doesn't want me to pay my full rent at the moment. He only wants me to pay half rent on the studio. And I was just blown away by that. And I don't know whether you're watching this, Chris, but if you ever do watch this, I haven't got the words to say just how grateful I am for that, because that might well be the one thing that will keep my business going through this on there. So I've been going through that. I'm also tired and shattered, I'll be honest. I've never been busier than I have been this week, and none of it paid work. Either running errands for friends, for family, trying to sort things out with the church so that they can live stream, trying to get my own business going, getting things online and all that. I've never been busier, but none of it's paid work. So I've gone through this range of emotions in 7 days. We've probably got 12 or more weeks of this yet to come. And I'm sure I'm not the only one. And I wanted to mention this because, well, first of all, it's normal to have mixed emotions about things like this. And I'm guessing that many of you are going through something similar. And I just want you to know that you're not alone. You're not the only one who's feeling confused, feeling fearful, feeling tired, feeling determined, and finding that it's changing from minute to minute. You're not alone. We're all going through it. And I think we can support each other with that knowledge. And if you are at the point where you think, I don't know how I'm going to cope with the next 5 minutes, let alone the next 5 weeks or 5 months, reach out to someone. If you're really desperate, reach out to me, but I'm sure there's plenty of other people around who are far better than me to reach out to. And you know, the amazing thing is that people feel better when someone has turned to them and said, look, I just need to talk, or can you help me? And that helps them as well. So you're not only not doing yourself any favours keeping things to yourself, but you are actually helping other people by sharing what you're going through with them. So reach out to someone if you feel you need to. Reach out to me if you need to. I want to now start looking at some practical things which hopefully will help. Businesses. I know some of you who are watching this have your own photography business. And some are full-time, some are semi-professional, part-time with it, but this is going to be a problem for you. It's a problem for me. But there are things that we can do. And the first thing I want to say is stay positive. This will end. There will be an end to it. It might be the 12 weeks that Boris Johnson's been talking about. It might take us till the end of the year or even into next year before the world is back to what we classify as normal. I don't think there is a normal, but there you go. But try and stay positive. Try and focus on how things will be on that. And look about how your business is going to be then. Next bit of very practical advice I want to give is get your accounts up to date. And I say this to myself because I'm always on the last minute with doing my accounts. At the moment, our government hasn't offered anything really to help the self-employed. That probably will change. I'm sure it will change. But it is a bit of a minefield for them. It's a very difficult one to sort out. And exactly how they're going to do it, if they do it, we don't know. But one thing you can be certain of is that we're going to have to prove what income we have lost. And that involves having our accounts to be able to show, I earned this in 2019, in 2020, I earned this, or didn't earn this. So if you can get your accounts up to date during this time, maybe you can find at home or you've got nothing else to do, it will put you in a position where you'll be able to make those claims much quicker. And even if we don't need that information to make those claims, even if we never use that information, if you're anything like me, just think of the nice Christmas and New Year you can have without having to worry about getting your accounts up to date so you can do your tax return before it's too late at the end of the year. So that's my first bit of advice. or second bit. First bit, stay positive. Second, get your accounts up to date. Next, if you are in financial difficulty because of this, because you've got no work coming in, your business is struggling, talk to your creditors now. You might find that your landlord is willing to do something like mine did and offer you a reduced rent. And if you talk to them before you're in difficulty, then it's going to be an easier conversation. And to be honest, even if they say no, you're in no worse a position than you are now. So it's worth talking to them. Anyone that owes money, you owe money to, that you might be struggling to pay, then just talk to them and say, look, can I defer a payment? Can I do that? And be proactive about it. Don't wait for them to come banging on your door. Talk to your creditors. The next thing to talk about is if you can diversify, then do. It may not be possible for you. I've got a couple of things that I'm trying to do to diversify. I'm trying, well, first of all, this whole live streaming stuff that I'm doing. It's really helping me here in the studio, but there are some opportunities outside the studio. I'm doing church services. That's for free. I'm not getting paid for that. But I was talking to our vicar, our minister, and he was saying that there's a problem with funerals because people can't come to funerals. And he's asking me whether I'm able to live stream funerals at the church. So I may get some work that way. That would be paid work. Nothing's come of it yet. The other bit of diversification is really more focusing on something else for me, and that's my academy. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. I'm trying to get all my face-to-face training, the classroom-based stuff, recorded and on video so that that I can offer that as online training and diversifying that way as best I can. Right, what if you're in isolation? Let me make a few suggestions, things that you can do there and should be doing. Well, the first thing to say is catch up with the processing backlog. And I don't think I know a photographer who hasn't got some images that are still waiting to be processed, that haven't been, there's bound to be some that need captioning or keywording or reorganizing or whatever. Use this time, if you're in isolation, get your Lightroom catalogue sorted out, or get your photos organised on your machine, get your backups sorted out, all those sorts of things that you keep putting off because you don't have the time to do. For me, I've got loads of photos I need to process, but I'm focusing on other things at the moment. But if you haven't got other things to focus on, get your catalogue up to date, get your processing up to date. Read up about new techniques, things that you might want to learn. Maybe you've always wanted to get your head around how to do HDR processing and how that works. Plenty of tutorials online on that. Maybe you want to know how to do focus stacking and how that works. Use this opportunity to read up on it and learn more about those sort of techniques. And try and find out. Maybe you want to learn how to process into black and white in Lightroom or Photoshop. Use the time to enhance your skills so that when you're out of isolation, you've got an extra string to your bow, extra things you can do. Your photography is still developing, you're still improving your skills. There's also plenty of things you can actually photograph at home. And those of you who are already Academy members will know I've been sending out suggestions for photo projects at home. They can be abstracts, things you can do in the garden. They can be abstracts with household objects. You can do things like smoke patterns at home. You can do water droplet things, all those sorts of things. There's lots you can do just to keep your hand in with your photography while you're at home. So try things like that. Don't just sit round and do nothing. And then whether you're confined to quarters or not, one important thing to do is try and take exercise. Try and keep fit in some way, at whatever level you're at. if you are able to go out, you're not isolated, do go for a walk out in the countryside if you can, but keep your distance. I know there's been a bit of a problem today and everyone's headed off into popular tourist resorts and the social distancing thing's not been working, but there's plenty of places you can go. You can keep away from the crowd, get that exercise. If you're confined to quarters, walk up and down stairs a few times, get your heart rate going just a little bit, get that exercise going. Not only will it help you keep fit, but actually when you exercise, a chemical's produced in the brain called serotonin, and that makes you feel better. It's sort of like a natural legal high that will help. So if you're feeling low, feeling fearful about the situation that you're in, try and take some exercise. There's plenty of videos online on YouTube that you can watch, which will give you ideas of things you can do to exercise and keep fit while you're at home. Maybe you could try a different genre of photography. And if you're not confined to quarters, then perhaps you normally only ever work with models. Or perhaps go out and try some landscape photography instead. Or maybe you could try some wildlife photography. Even if you can't get out of the house, if you can put some food out for the birds and point your camera out of the window and practice your wildlife photography. And you may say, well, those aren't my genres. They're not the sorts of things I want to shoot. They may not be. But the skills you will learn will help you. If you're that model-only photographer who's been forced to do a bit of wildlife photography, you're going to learn the skills necessary to freeze action and to track movement. So that will help you if you're photographing a dance model or you want to put action and movement into your model photography. Or maybe you've gone out and tried landscape photography. That might give you some ideas of how you can photograph a model in the landscape. So there are ways that you can use other genres to help your core genre when you can't shoot it. So try a different genre, try learning new skills. Next thing I would say is start thinking about what you're going to do once this crisis is over. Get your plans sorted now. Look to the future. I sort of hinted on this before when I said be positive, think about the fact that it will end. You know, it's easier to get through any crisis if you can focus on this is going to pass, this is going to end. And one of the best ways to do that is to start planning what you're going to shoot afterwards. If you work with models, start talking to the models you want to work with. That will not only give you a focus on the future, it'll be a real encouragement for the models as well, because I know so many models are suffering as well. They're not able to work either. But if you can talk to the models you want to shoot, you may not be able to plan the date for that shoot, but you can plan what you're going to shoot and you can talk about it. You can encourage each other on that. So plan what you're going to do when it's over. Look to the future. Don't just look to the present. How can I help? How can Ian Studio help with this? Well, there's a couple of areas. It really divides in two. You probably know I've got lots and lots of free resources on my website, and I've got my academy. Regarding the free stuff, I've got things like this Livestream. Now, this one's a little bit different. It's just me talking to the camera. If there's anyone watching this who hasn't watched the previous ones, I normally do these magazine style where I'm just feeding in small snippets about different sorts of things, and that's going to be the way that these will proceed in the future. So you will learn from those. There's resources. You can ask questions through these live streams. I'm trying to keep them on Sunday nights. I think that's a good night for them. If you agree, mention it in the chat. Let me just go over to the chat on here and see where we're at with that. And Wow, yeah, loads of chat on there. I'm not going to be able to read all those straight away. I'll look at them later. But yeah, if you think Sunday nights is a good night for this, do put it in the chat so that I know. On it now. Yeah, I've also got this back catalogue of blogs on my website. So if you're looking for learning new skills or want something to try and inspire you, take a look through there. And there's loads and loads of blogs on there you can read up on all sorts of topics on that. I've got 80 plus YouTube videos, all free. You can learn new skills, you can laugh at my poor camera technique, and believe you me, some of the very early ones are pretty dire, I'm afraid. But you've got those that I'm providing, that hopefully there'll be stuff there which will be helpful. And I've got what I call my community space. It used to be my forum. I've renamed it. The forum, the name just doesn't work. It's all about community on there. And that's used to be just for my Academy members. It's now available to anyone. Go to my website, have a look. There's an area on there where you can actually now upload photos to that community and ask for feedback from myself and from other members. So try doing things like that. I can help in that way. And there's my Facebook group. I'll put a link to that down in the show notes for this. But I think a lot of you already know that. If you just search for Ian Studio on Facebook, you'll soon find it. But what about the Academy? You may not be aware of what's available in the Academy. Those of you who are members will know I've got things like my Academy Bites. These are emails I send out every few days. They are short little tidbits and suggestions, a photo with some thoughts about it. The ones I'm sending out at the moment, I've chosen particularly because of the situation we're in. They are all suggestions of projects that you can do photographically whilst you're at home. So if you are confined at home, these are things that you can do. I've got online training, which is what I'm working on. I've recorded some, I'm recording more on there. So there's some videos in there which are exclusive to Academy members. I've got 50 plus inspiration sheets. These are 4-page PDF documents that you can have a read of to hopefully inspire you, including topics and things that you can photograph at home. So that will help you if you're an Academy member. And if you are a studio photographer, there's 20 odd lighting sheets on there of how I light things. So download those. That might be useful if you are planning shoots for when this crisis is over. Now this is the bit that's quite tricky because I want to be honest with you because I really need your help as well. The first thing to say is I get a real kick out of helping other photographers, and I love helping them. And I'd love to be able to do it for free, but I can't. I've got a business to run. Even on half rent, I've still got to pay the rent on this building. I've got to pay for electricity. I've got to pay for broadband. Oh, yeah, I must get that one set up on there. And to be perfectly honest with you, my income has completely dried up at the moment. I've lost 7 theatre gigs that I was due to photograph. I can't run events here at the studio. Nobody's booking portrait sessions at this time. Not that I've done weddings for ages, but no one's booking weddings either. So I've got just about zero income with one exception, and that's my Academy. My problem is I haven't got enough members in the Academy to keep it going at the moment. And the only way I can keep the Academy going is if I can treble the members by the end of the year. It should be achievable because I haven't got a huge number in there. So I really need to do that. And I've got to focus on my Academy and my Academy members. It's only £6 a month or £60 a year. Now, what's £6 a month? That's what? 2 coffees from Costa. It's £1.50 down at the pub, or a large Mac meal from McDonald's. Do I need to mention that you can't actually spend money at those places at the moment? No, sorry. Sorry. Okay, I'll move on. I just want to say, if you are already a member, and I know some of you are, and some people have joined recently, if you are a member, thank you from the bottom of my heart, because it really does mean a lot to me to have you in there. If you're not a member, but you're worried about your own income during this crisis, then do not join my academy, and I mean that seriously. Enjoy the free stuff I'm putting out there, please. I don't want people to join if it's going to cause them problems financially. I really don't, and I mean that quite genuinely. But if you're in a position where you're financially fairly secure and you appreciate the free stuff I offer through the live stream, through YouTube, all those other channels that I've mentioned, and you want to support me through this time, then I would never ask for money. Just join the academy, £6 a month or £60 for the year, and that will mean so much to me, and I'd find it really helpful. Okay, sales pitch over on that. I just wanted to be honest with you so that you know where I'm at the moment on there and what I need to do to be able to keep my business going on it. Now, most of what I've been saying is already on my blog in written form. So if you want to reread and think about it, have a look at that on there. And I just want to say, I want to encourage, I hope this has actually been an encouragement to you and not come across just as that sales pitch. Because that's not what I want. I really want to try and help people, and with that practical advice I've been giving. If you do need help, then do reach out and do ask for help, myself or anyone else on there. And consider helping other people, because that will actually help you as well. Yeah, you can probably tell, I find the end section here of this quite difficult to talk about. I don't want, well, I've said it already, I don't want it to be a sales pitch on this, on there. So, yeah, sorry if that's how it's come across. Okay, so Q&A. Let's have a look over on the live chat and see what we've got in there. And we've got a few people in. Rick, Ron, people up to speed, Andy checking in on there. Right, yeah. I thought you were going to say it makes it easier to format the slides space. Oh, yes, the fact that Rick's not here. Yes, it is easier to format my slides without him in the frame on that. Right, any other questions over here? Right, Richard. Right, I can see from what's up on the screen at the moment, you're actually quite a way behind me on this with the broadcast. I don't know why it's slower than live at the moment on that. So I think all I can do at the moment is wrap up on this. First of all, don't forget the giveaway. Put something in the comments on either the previous video or this one to be entered into the draw for the diffuser reflector on that. Please subscribe to the channel so you're notified about future ones. Next one will be all about looking at available light photography, and I hope you'll join me for that next Sunday evening. So until then, thanks for watching, and as ever, keep making great photos.